Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
We're going to be reviewing the iPass Velo V1 Pro Max next on Now Let's Review. All right, so I got my words for this one.
Okay, 3 words.
3 words. Maybe it's 2. Loophole. Moped wannabe.
Okay.
That's how I would describe it if I was in an elevator pitch to somebody.
I would do looks over function.
Looks over function. Okay, so I think that there's a limited use case for this moped bicycle, and I want to kind of get into that off the top. So first off, you can get this in 4 different versions, from standard to pro to max to pro max. They're all within like 80 bucks of each other, and basically that's just the basket, the cowling, and these wheel covers.
And that's the only thing that changes. You might think, oh, I got the Pro, it must come with a more powerful motor. Nope. You might say, oh, I got the Pro Max, maybe it comes with a bigger battery. Nope. There is a bigger battery option, but it has nothing to do with it. It's just the amount of stuff that they've slapped onto it. And you're going to be slapping a lot of this stuff onto it. Now, you might think that with a moped or with something that looks like a moped, that you're gonna get a lot of power. And they claim that it's a 1500 watt motor. I am here to tell you, I have tried 1500 watt motors. I've tried 750 watt motors. This is a 750 watt motor.
Weird thing is they claim it's 1500 watts with a peak of 2200, and I've felt those before, and that is not what this feels like. Now, the only way that could be maybe true would be if they've geared it, because they have geared it for the high end, for the higher speeds.
For top speed. When you start riding the bike and you pin the throttle, starts out pretty slow. It's like starting out in 3rd gear, or something like that. It's not a lot of acceleration off the line, but it does bring you up to, they claim 33 miles an hour.
I actually got 34.5 miles an hour, if their speedometer is correct.
Right. It's going to be in the 30 mile an hour range,
which I think is one of the top sellers for this bike, is the fact that you're going beyond e-bike speeds. Just to be clear, in the United States, that is technically above e-bike speeds. So like, if you got pulled over by a police officer, and I see why you could, because it looks like an unregistered motorcycle, you would explain, you would point to the pedals first.
Dude, yes.
Officer, it has pedals, it's an e-bike.
Look it.
And then you would have to hope that he hadn't clocked you, because you're not supposed to be going over 24 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. Now, you could claim you're going downhill and the wind was at your back.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, this goes over that speed, which I kind of like, and we'll get into that later.
The next is the battery. Now, on their website, no matter which battery configuration you do, on one of the slides, it says that this is a 30 amp hour battery. It depends on if you're buying the 30 amp hour battery or not, and that also, the range doesn't change depending on which battery thing you do. It may have been a problem with their website, but to me, it's a little misleading.
Yeah, especially for people who don't know much about batteries. So just be careful. It looks the same, whether you get the 30 amp hour or the 18.2 amp hour, but you're getting way less range if you get the smaller. It costs $260 more to get the bigger. Only do that if you need more range. Now, they claim that you can get 162 miles of range with the big battery.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We don't have the big battery, so I can't tell you that definitively. We have the smaller of the 2 batteries, but we got nowhere near close to that range, because here's the thing. This is not a e-bike that you're gonna pedal. This is an e-bike that you're gonna pin the throttle and ride it as a moped, and if that is the case, you're gonna get, in my opinion, from our testing, I think closer to 20-25 miles on the small battery, and probably 40 to 50 miles on the big battery.
And if you throw in any hills, you can just subtract about 10 miles off of that, which is fine. That is a perfectly acceptable range for a bike that is doing this. And yeah, you are not pedaling this e-bike.
No, and one reason why you're not is because it's only 1 speed. There's no shifters here, right? Because they've just put it 1 speed, which is smart in terms of saving money. It's just that keep in mind that when you start to launch this bike, you are going to have a very slow run of it. And I want to bring up a couple of use cases where that's a problem. One is intersections. We all know that in a busy intersection, you want to get through fast. And I encountered a bunch on our ride, and I had to just kind of hope that nothing was coming fast, because this is like, and so that's where you got to put in some pedaling yourself. It is very hard to start this bike off from just pedaling. You have to give it throttle too, in my opinion, because the gearing is so hard.
Yeah, the gearing of both the motor and the pedals is for top speed. It's not for starting off. So yeah, starting takes a while.
It's a lot of overcomplicated marketing, I'll put it nicely, on their website. And so a bunch of this stuff could be misleading. You have to really read it carefully. One of the things they claim is that it's got 5 gears. That sounds exciting. No, it has 5 levels of pedal assist, which is quite common in e-bikes, but we don't call it gears, we call it pedal assist. So just be careful there. It's got the normal 0 through 5 levels of pedal assist.
Now, the 5 levels of pedal assist also translate to the throttle. Now, when you start the bike up, it's going to be in level 0, which means that the throttle gonna do nothing.
Which you could say is a safety feature, but the problem is that every time you start it, it goes back to 0. And so let's say like me, you have a happy setting of like 3. You'd kind of like it to always come back to 3 when you restart it. And instead, it has this kind of long startup feature, and then it goes to 0, and you have to set it back to 3 or 5 or whatever you like.
It also means that if you're in pedal assist level 1, the throttle is only going to get you up to like 12 miles an hour, which can be a good use case if you are in some place where you don't want to go too fast.
Another kind of misleading thing on the website is that it shows that it can go up a 22-degree gradient with 110 Newton meters of force. I didn't experience that. What I experienced was anytime I hit any kind of grade, it slowed right down because it's not geared for that. And so you think, well, just put in a little pedal, Zach. Well, yeah, but it's not geared for that. So you can only do short stints of pedaling before it's just too hard to do. And that gets me to the weight. This is the heaviest e-bike we've reviewed so far, I believe, 90 pounds. And so, while it's great for a moped motorcycle style, when you go to bring this up some stairs or put it onto a bike rack, be very, very careful because it's heavy.
Well, you're not going to be able to put it on a bike rack or many bike racks because if you put the wheel covers on, you don't have any way to strap around the wheels. Many bike racks will actually strap through the spokes and around the wheels to hold the bike in place. The wheel covers are made such that you can't really do that. Now, you could take them off, go get a jigsaw and cut a couple of slots and then, put it back on and make sure they line up and then do all sorts of work to make sure that it works.
But wait a minute, there's a hole in it for the air stem.
There is, but the air stem's in the way. So you're gonna have to make your own slot, and then when you finally hoist this 90-pound bicycle onto it, then you're gonna have to lift one side, turn the wheel till it's at the right point, then feed the thing, the strap through. It's gonna be a hassle. It also weighs 90 pounds.
Well, so we did try and put it on the Cybertruck over the tailgate with that special tailgate cover.
And that
How
worked.
was that?
That was exhausting, but it did do it finally.
Because you had to lift it by yourself.
Yes, I had to lift it over and we had already ramped it up into the bed, so I just had to get the front over the tailgate, and that was a lot of work in itself. So it's heavy. Why is it so heavy? Oh, there's metal everywhere you can possibly imagine, like this. Metal. The whole thing is basically metal. Plastic fenders, plastic cowling. Anywhere that they could add something, they did. It totally helps the look. Can I talk about the look for a minute?
Sure.
The look is fantastic, let's be honest. This thing looks like a motorcycle. Everything from the battery looks like a gas tank. They even added the little fake gas tank top, so that's like, if you wanted it to look like a motorcycle, it's great. The seat is great. The basket gives it a lot more substantive look to it. The cowling, everything is about
the headlight
looks.
Yeah.
And these pieces, it's all about looks. The other thing is each one of these metal panels, and especially the basket, is that they all have a resonant frequency. And so as you're accelerating, they all take turns going all on the way up to top speed. So it's a very rattly, very loud bike. The motor is loud. Everything's loud about it. So it's not as loud as a motorcycle, but you're gonna get heard on your way zipping through. So if you're gonna go on a bike trail, that's enough time for people to hear you, turn around, see what you look like, and then go, So don't be surprised if some people are going to yell at you if you ride this anywhere near pedestrians.
You can be 5'7" to 6'5" to ride it. And can I just do a brand rant right now?
Okay.
Brands were invented for a reason. It's so that you could have a reputation of either being good or bad, right? Well, you tell me, what does this say? Comment down below.
Okay, did you write your comment? I see Velum Moped. Velum Moped.
The brand is iPass, A-I-P-A-S. I don't see it anywhere on the bike. I see Trend.
It's right here in this QR code.
Oh, sorry. That's where it is.
That's where you can scan the QR code to activate the warranty.
I see Trend Velum Moped. It's the Velo Moped, and I don't know, and some other gibberish that I can't read.
Velum Moped.
So just Chinese brands. Either don't do anything or do it right. Put your brand on there so that others can tell. You went up to your friend and you're like, oh man, that's such a sweet bike. What's it called?
And Velo Moped is a fine name, but A-Pass is...
But where does it say V1 on it? It's the V1.
Right. Yeah. They got racing. It says racing. Looks great, really detracts from the function, hence my words, which was, looks over function.
Yeah, and mine, which is, loophole.
Yes.
Basically, this is an e-bike, but it looks like a moped or a motorcycle. So I think that the use case for this is not me. I would just go buy a motorcycle if that's what I wanted. I think it's for kids. I think it's for teenagers who want something that looks really cool and it gets up to high speeds. And I want to get back to that. I think that if you are trying to ride on back roads through suburbia, there's this 30, 35 mile hour speed that most cars go, and most e-bikes can't get to that speed. And so therefore you are relegated to the side of the road and getting passed. And now you have this thing that looks like a motorcycle, so you can sit in the center of the road, keep up with traffic, and I think that's a safer place to be on these suburban back roads. So for your teenager, you might actually argue, and I know this is weird, that maybe you want them going faster because they might actually be safer. Now, a little disclaimer here, I think they should be wearing a serious helmet if they're gonna do that, because with those higher speeds, faces become a problem. So the regular bike helmet that just covers your noggin, I feel like isn't enough, and so I think you should look into a motorcycle style helmet.
I definitely agree. I think that the point that we're trying to make here is that when you get passed by a car, you might say, okay, well, that's the dangerous part. Well, then you're gonna get passed again. If you're going 20 miles an hour and the cars are going 35, they're just gonna keep passing you. If you have a big enough bike that looks like it should be on the road, the brake lights are a little weak, you could maybe try and get a bigger thing or something like that. But motorcycle helmet, big bike, going 30 miles an hour, the first driver that comes upon the back of you is gonna go, this is a road user that I am not going to pass. So as long as that one person doesn't pass you, then you're good until that person turns off or something else. Which means that instead of being passed and then passed and then passed, and every single time they pass you is a chance for you to die, now they're gonna treat you like any other car on the road. Right. I think that that has some safety value. Now, obviously, if you're giving this to a 16-year-old and they wanna go 30 miles an hour and drive straight into a brick wall, that's gonna be a bad time.
Yeah, but my pushback on that is when they're 17 and they can drive a motorcycle, they're gonna go way faster than 30 miles an hour. And that's when death occurs, is 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. At 30,
90, 100, 110.
Yeah, at 30, you can kill yourself, of course, but it's a lot harder to do. And so it might be a good way to acclimate them to the rules of the road. I don't know, getting too much into parenting here.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the bike.
There's one aspect of the bike, probably the biggest Achilles heel for me, aside from the motor and all that, which is the cable brakes.
Let's talk about price. This bike starts at $919 if you get the stripped version, $989 with this version and the smaller battery. They kept it under $1,000. I think that was smart for what they're probably going after. And so they had to basically strip a lot of things out. They should have had hydraulic brakes, because when you go to brake this thing, because it weighs the 90 pounds plus your weight, it struggles. There's just no way around that. So you're putting a lot more work in with your hands to get this thing to stop, and that's where it would have felt really good to have hydraulic brakes. They save some money not having to have any shifters. They save some money on a bunch of other features to get you this, and if this is what you want, they accomplished it. Let's talk about the suspension. You can't see one of the suspension pieces, which that they actually got rear suspension back here, and it's stiff. The whole ride is stiff, but it's motorcycle stiff. You're not gonna wanna ride this off-road. I know some people are gonna try that. I think that's probably a mistake. This is a road bike in my opinion.
I agree.
And for that, the suspension is a little stiff. You can adjust the front suspension.
But even at its loosest, it's still
Very
pretty
stiff.
stiff. Yeah.
But it does have suspension. They snuck that in for that price, which kudos to them. This basket, in my opinion, is only for looks, and it really is not usable. I mean, you were saying maybe you could keep some oranges in there. Like, other than that, if you put anything in there, it's probably gonna fall out. You can't fit a laptop, really. You can't fit a backpack.
Couple of Gatorades.
Yeah, it's just for junk that, you know, maybe some bungee cord or
Some
something.
snacks. Basically, it's a snack drawer on your bike.
So let's talk about the handlebars here. I do like the handlebar grips. Has a half throttle on the right, which is nice for the motorcycle feel. I'm glad they didn't go with a chintzy thumb throttle. In the middle, we've got a nice LCD screen, turned 90 degrees, which I think actually fits pretty nicely into the look. Over here, a nice controller, just like we saw on the Rusher. And over here, I really do like that they have a dedicated turn signals, and they've got the lights, and they've got the horn, all in one place. So for that, they did a great job. And then on the front, I actually think these are really good turn signals, except I really think they should have done something similar in the rear.
I think they saved a little bit of money by not having a big turn signal cluster, so that way they could do the one in the front. Also, I have to be honest, I've kicked off and broke a bunch of motorcycle blinkers before. So having it not there
Tucked away is nice.
is kind of nice, because then you're not going to just have a broken blinker immediately.
The seat's nice. It says that it can hold 500 pounds. I just want to point out, if you are on the heavier side, then this motor's going to struggle even more. So keep in mind that is going to affect all the performance of it and the range. The front end, I think they got really nice. I really love the headlight and I love the cowling. I would get this with those features because that's what makes this bike, in my opinion. That looks really sweet. It comes in black and then this blue. I'm not a fan of the blue, but
You're gonna get the black, let's be honest.
and then, of course, there's no rear rack. And because this is kind of unusable for anything, you're gonna have to wear a backpack. So if this is for school, that's just the way it goes. There's really no place else on this bike that I can see where you can put like stuff like water bottles and stuff like that. So I think if that's what they were trying to do, keep this under $1,000 for a moped wannabe, then I think they accomplished their goal.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of balance everything that it does while keeping the cost low. This sort of style we've seen cost in the $2,000-ish range, maybe even a little bit more. It's not as good as some of the other things, but the trade-offs between looks and top speed are really what they were aiming for.
And it could be a really great commuter-ish bike for kids, especially to get to high school or college and spend practically no money on fuel.
Exactly. So from that perspective, I do like it.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let us know down below what you think and what you'd like us to review. And don't forget to check out all of our other amazing review videos on everything from e-bikes to e-composters to, well, anything e. We'll see you soon on Now Let's Review.